When new cards get revealed, everyone has their own opinion. This card is amazing, game-breaking, overpowered, or maybe it's garbage, unplayable, dustworthy. However, you won't be able to predict how strong every card truly is. Some cards can really shock you with how strong they actually become. In this video, we looked back at card reviews from professional players to see which cards they rated lower on the scale of playability. After doing so, we've gathered our top 10 underrated cards from Ashes of Outland. Before we get into the video, make sure to subscribe to the Tempo Strategy channel for all of our latest videos across different strategy games. While you're at it, be sure to turn notifications on to be notified when we upload videos. Now, in no particular order, let's get into the top 10. Our 10th entry on this list is the card Fungal Fortunes. This card had some mixed reviews when first revealed. Everyone acknowledged the power of drawing multiple cards with such little mana. However, most decks rely on minions in order to get the job done. Druid ended up not needing many minions in order to become a very powerful deck. The combination of Overgrowth, Kael'thas Sunstrider, and Overflow led to Fungal Fortunes being an essential card in the early stages of the game. Without being able to draw to Overgrowth within the first couple of turns, Spell Druid can really struggle. Fungal Fortunes made this version of Druid very consistent and is seen as a 2-off in every single spell-oriented Druid. Up next in the number 9 slot, we have Moarg Artificer. Moarg at first didn't see tons of play, but eventually it found its way into Quest Warlock and some Priest builds. This card single-handedly gives Quest Warlock a way to reliably heal for tons of health when coupled with Nether Breath. Also, since it is a demon, it works well with Sacrificial Pact. This card gives stability to a deck that was struggling to find some kind of footing inside of the meta. After playing around with this card, people now see how powerful it is to double the damage dealt to minions, especially in a control deck. Number 8 is brought to you by Apotheosis. Most reviews and reviewers rated this card as unplayable. Since then, it's found its way into a vast majority of Galakrond priests. This card makes your opponent play around it to an extent that forces them to make awkward plays themselves. It also curves out and has great synergy with Sethekk Veilweaver. Snowballing something like that early wins players the game on the spot. In a way, this card is similar to Ziliax, giving you the same stat line and healing for only 3 mana. Although this card certainly has its weaknesses, its strengths were overlooked and has turned out to be a very powerful card. Speaking of priest cards, number 7 is Sethekk Veilweaver. Sethekk Veilweaver on the surface seems a bit strange for Priest. Priest traditionally hasn't played a tempo game style. This card seemed like it may push the tempo playstyle for Priests, but actually resulted in some insane late game value. This card can help you remove multiple threats, present multiple threats, or even just give you more value than you'll ever need. Typically when Priest cards get rated, they seem to be lower, since Priest isn't necessarily the strongest of the classes. However, this card coupled with multiple strong Priest cards resulted in a very powerful couple of decks. Moving away from Priest for the time being, number 6 is Corsair Cache. Corsair Cache has been in every warrior deck since its release. It has given warriors a consistent value generator in multiple different decks. For Bomb Warrior, it generates more bombs leading to more pressure. In Tempo Warrior, it results in being able to guarantee access to Risky Skipper. And in Pirate Warrior, it means you will literally never run out of those pesky pirates. I mean never. Corsair Cache will most likely remain super powerful as long as Ankar and Livewire Lance are in standard. Let's revisit Priest for a moment with number 5. Number 5 is Soul Mirror. Soul Mirror at first seemed like a worse version of Mass Hysteria, which you can still kind of argue. However, Soul Mirror has given Priests a very strong way of dealing with mid-range sized minions. Soul Mirror has been included in virtually every variant of Priest to this date. Without Soul Mirror, it may have been hard for Priest to find a foothold inside of this meta, especially since the 2 most popular and powerful decks are tempo-based mid-range decks. In the number 4 slot, we have Frozen Shadoweaver. This card originally didn't seem like the strongest of cards, except when you take into consideration the 2 most powerful classes right now, Warrior and Demon Hunter. Frozen Shadoweaver shuts down 2 weapon classes and makes your opponent play awkwardly around it, especially seeing that Demon Hunter relies so heavily on being able to swing with their face for the turn. Frozen Shadoweaver being underrated is a product of where the meta currently is. If the 2 best classes and decks didn't function heavily on weapons, it may not have been as powerful as it was. The fact of the matter is Frozen Shadoweaver has seen itself in virtually every class and deck at some point in time. Alright, we promise this is the last Priest card on the list, but it was so difficult not to put so many Priest cards since all of them were highly underrated. Number 3 is Renew. That's right, one of the most influential Priest cards currently was rated poorly at the beginning. What makes Renew so powerful is its ability to cycle into itself and find an answer to virtually any situation. Need removal? It's got you. Need tempo? Here's Apotheosis. Losing playing the game unless you find a Plague of Death that you don't run inside of your main list? Here you go. Everything and more is located inside of this card for the low mana cost of 1. We can see where initially this card could be rated so low. Priest wasn't too strong, and with the nerfs to combo Priest, it seemed like this card may never find a home. The opposite came to be true, and now Renew sees play inside of every variation of Priest. Numbers 1 and 2 you may find surprising with how meta-defining they have become. Number 2 is Warmaul Challenger. You can see where this card originally may have not been ranked too highly. It isn't the strongest on its own, and it seemed to fit a control archetype which didn't need this form of removal. Those in fact weren't its optimal uses, as we have seen since then. Warmaul Challenger, ever since Tempo Warrior's discovery early on in the meta, has been one of its strongest tools. This card allows for the removal of small threats in the early game, damages itself in order to activate numerous warrior tools, and can represent a massive threat if unchecked. The combination of all of these have resulted in one of the most powerful Tempo Warrior cards. Number 1 is definitely going to surprise you. Imprisoned Scrap Imp was given a resounding 1 out of a 4-point scale by multiple different streamers and professionals. Imprisoned Scrap Imp actually went on to become deck-defining and needed to be nerfed. Zulak was trying to find itself as a deck in the early beginnings of Ashes of Outland. When players combined the combination of Imprisoned Scrap Imp with a discard engine that drew tons of cards, the combination became super deadly. Players could die from high life totals. Coin Scrap Imp became something players would simply just concede to as to not waste their time. This card made the Hearthstone team nerf it within the first couple of months inside of the metagame. The thing to take away from this top 10 is that it can be super difficult to judge cards when they aren't inside of the game and are waiting to be released. Sometimes you just have to wait and see how the cards work with all of the other cards in the game and in the set. We hoped you like a look at our top 10 underrated cards from Ashes of Outland. If you enjoyed this video and want more of the best Hearthstone content, make sure to like this video and subscribe to the Tempo Strategy channel. That's all from us now. Have a good one.